Who do you think you're fooling? Nobody's thinking about their job the day before a Husker game.
Being flushed out of the pocket, rolling downfield, looking, throws. Pass intercepted. Picked off by the Huskers at the 27-yard line. Marquise Buford with an INT. The Huskers will take over at their own 27-yard line. Kick sailing is blocked at the line of scrimmage. Huskers block the kick. Keep the 0 on the board. It was Ty Robinson up in the air to knock it down.
This is the Friday Husker Tailgate with Jack Mitchell, Nate Rohr, John Bishop, and Kevin Suits on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Yes. Who do you think you're fooling? Nobody's thinking about work on a weekday.
Yes.
Not on the day before a Saturday, but on a weekday because it is game day on the Friday Husker Tailgate Thursday edition special. And we are back and ready to go in what I believe would be year 17, season 17, if my math is correct, for the Friday Husker Tailgate. And we are back with the same lineup that we had last year. We've got John Bishop joining us live from Kansas City right now. John, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Is everything working okay? Do you hear me? Or are we doing good? Are we happy?
You sound good.
I
can hear you. I can hear you. It looks like things are not quite that lively yet in the 1620 The Zone house yet over there, although I know you have 2 radio shows emanating out of that house right now. That is the kind of the epicenter of Nebraska media right now. It's not even in the state of Nebraska in some ways.
Yeah, if you want our address, hit me up in the DMs. We'll make sure we invite everybody who's in the Kansas City area. You know, we came down here yesterday on I-29, and I think 90% of the license plates were Nebraska license plates. So, and they're coming from every county. So the rumors of Nebraska taking over Arrowhead Stadium, I fear, for Cincinnati are true.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Hopefully they worked on the silent count this week because I've got a feeling they're going to feel like it's an away game, and Matt Rule said it should be as much.
You know, it was interesting. I saw you reminded me. I saw a tweet from Dirk Chatelain yesterday, and I believe it was from him, and he talked about how a road crowd is different than a home crowd, and maybe a little bit more feisty and mean. I don't know if that's true or not, Nate, but if so, and you've got that many Husker fans there, this could be like a level up even from a home game in terms of intensity of the crowd.
Well, yeah, feisty and mean would maybe not be the adjectives I would use to describe, but they're certainly more intense. I mean, it's such a deviation from your normal routine. I mean, hey, you've got folks in the stadium who've had season tickets for 40, 50, 60 years, whatever, and God love them, but, you know, they just don't have the same lung capacity as folks filling up the family Suburban and going down there and tailgating for 3 hours and preparing accordingly. So, it is different. You know, the people who go to road games and the people who go to bowl games, you know, just on average are a little different than your home game crowd and tend to be, dare I say, a little younger, a little more fired up, and especially when masked like this. The other thing is, you know, Arrowhead Stadium is just built for noise. I mean, they tout the loudest stadium in the NFL when it hit 142 decibels, and the upper deck is awesome. I think it's actually illegal at this point.
You've been there a lot. You've been there a lot.
A few times. Yeah, quite a few times. And you know, the upper deck, the steepness of it, the fact that all the seats are on the sidelines, it's kind of an enclosed bowl. The joint can get loud, and I think Husker fans will oblige tonight.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, too, the time of the game. You know, it's going to be a later game than normal, and you're going to have people who have, again, a lot of them, like I said, are probably already here. A lot more will be coming down today, but there's going to be a whole day long of tailgating. Plus, you've got a whole 8 months of pent-up energy that's going into all of this. And so you mix all of those things together with what's anticipated out of this team this year, what people are hoping will be, you know, that magical year 3 under Matt Rule. There's going to be a lot of excitement in the joint. So Yeah, I mean, I know Scott Satterfield tried to downplay it a little bit this week, but it will feel like, dare I say, it'll feel like a Chiefs game down here, and we know how intimidating that can be. It's been a great home field advantage for the last 20 years for Kansas City, and it's going to feel very much the same tonight.
Yeah. By the way, in terms of tailgating, hopefully Husker fans know this. They probably do if they've looked at their parking pass or whatever. The lots don't open until 3:30 this afternoon. And so I was a little surprised to see that because, you guys, if they were open, well, now there would be people there, right?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure there would be people there. So it's a little bit, it'll have to be, I mean, John was talking about tailgating, but Nate, it'll be a little bit of won't quite have much time to do the tailgating there as you might for a normal road game.
Yeah, we say that nobody will be in the parking lots, but I know for Chiefs games, even Chiefs night games, folks will come, first thing in the morning, and they may not sit in the lots, but they're sitting right at the gate and just sitting there so that they
Where do they put their car?
They just park. They're sitting there. They're parking, waiting for the gate to open. People will do that the night before if the Chiefs are kicking at noon. So there may be people at the Truman Sports Complex right now sitting in their cars. And to those who may be in Kansas City listening to us, hello and pace yourselves.
That's right. Yeah, that's without a doubt. By the way, we are streaming video today. We're you may be listening to us to on the radio on KLIN or through the app right now, but we are also streaming on the KLIN Facebook and YouTube and Twitter page, X page right now. Thanks to Kenny Larrabee for getting us going with that. I know John's a veteran of the video stream, but I'm not used to have to do my makeup before these shows. So that's.
I mean, I literally woke up 20 minutes ago, so
I can't tell. Hard to tell. Yeah, this. So guys, let's talk about some of the questions, and I know we won't get all of the questions that we've got about the team going into the game answered in game one, but we always, I know this is always how it works. You see a first few drives and you start to take away like, okay, I was right about this guy. Okay, I was wrong about this guy, or sort of this thing I wondered about the team. John, as much as you can get the question answered tonight, what is the thing that you most want to have a better idea about for this team after watching the game tonight?
Well, my number one concern coming into this season has been, the defense and how it was going to make the adjustment. I mean, while we as, observers and fans can, we're kind of used to constant change when change never happened around these parts. It is still a significant move. I mean, Tony White, what he did in 2 years here was really amazing, because a lot of folks were down on the defense, especially at the end of Frost's tenure. And coming in with this new 3-3-5 thing, how is it going to work? Was it going to adapt to the Big Ten? And we saw in year one right away, the defense took off. Last year, the numbers were fairly similar. And so now you're keeping the same scheme, but you're bringing in new minds to all of this. Plus, you lose a couple of huge anchors up front. And so to me tonight, I'm going to try. I want to get some answers about how Nebraska is going to be on defense, particularly run defense. And I think this game I don't want to say it's convenient, but I think it's a really intriguing test, because Cincinnati will test Nebraska, where I think Nebraska, I have the biggest questions about them. How will they be on run defense? Cincinnati brought in Tyree Walker, who was at Wisconsin, so he's accustomed to playing at that level of football. They have, they've got an offensive line that's been a little bit rebuilt, but they also have a quarterback that can run. We've seen in the past how that has hurt Nebraska dealing with a mobile quarterback. So they're going to get a very unique challenge. I think it's a manageable challenge. I'm not saying this is Alabama. This is not, Ohio State, but I think it is a challenge that is going to test Nebraska in ways that I am most particularly interested to see how they're going to be this year. I've said many times on my show throughout the course of the offseason, if you could tell me today, if you could just lay out the defensive numbers in terms of how they were against the run, I think I could piece together how everything else is going to set up. I feel really confident about this offense. I think this offense is going to take another step forward. I think Dylan is ready to be that guy and have the kind of year that his pedigree tells us is capable. But if you can tell me right now what that run defense is, I think I could piece together what kind of a season this is going to be. If they can be as good as they have been the last 2 years, then yes, all of those projections of at least 8 wins, maybe 9 wins, or as some people have said, a possibility of being in the playoff conversation, those are all on the table, because I think all of the other pieces from special teams to offense are coming together in a way where it's the math is there to getting at least 8 wins this season.
I'm along the same lines as John in that I want to see how the defense works. And that's run defense, that's pass defense, that's how are they getting signals in? Are they able to set up? Remember, John Butler's been a defensive coordinator for only 1 year. That's not to say he can't handle it, but he's only been a defensive coordinator for 1 year plus 1 game. So just the idea of getting calls in quickly and getting them communicated and disseminated and everybody set and ready to play defense. That's what I'm wondering about. And then the trickle down effects of that. How does this front seven come together? How does the pass rush come together? Because, you know, John mentioned the rush defense being a question, and that's certainly an important one. But right alongside it is, how is Nebraska going to get after the quarterback, or will they be able to get after the quarterback? Because if they are, you know, the defensive backfield's going to hold up. It's a veteran group. They've played a lot of games. They've played well. I feel like they're going to be able to do their job as long as they're getting some help from up front and as long as the overall shape of the defense is coherent. So that's the big thing for me. I guess one other thing I'll have in mind is how do the wide receivers produce? Because on one hand, you know, it feels like Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter are more solid. On the other hand, you can see a lot of parallels between last year's wide receivers with Nair and Banks, and they didn't produce. They just did not produce. And the step forward that this offense needs to take is going to be predicated on Dylan Raiola having reliable targets downfield. So will those guys produce at the level that Nebraska needs them to? That's my big question on offense, because I feel like Emmett Johnson's going to be there. I feel like Dylan Raiola, if given a little help, will be really, really good this year, as long as the wide receivers are good.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys mentioned. And just to build a little bit on what John said initially on the defense, the way I'm going to evaluate that tonight in terms of the defense and, you know, what a different look Nebraska defense under new coordinator is going, how they're going to measure up in game one, is right away how comfortable, I guess, Brendan Sorsby looks in this game. John, you mentioned it. He runs. He was their second leading rusher last year. I think he led the team in rushing touchdowns last year. They like to run a lot of that sprint option that I love on the NCAA video game. I wear that play out on the NCAA video game. Apparently so does the Cincinnati play calling staff as well. And he busted off, you know, at the end of the year last year, guys, when that team struggled, he was kind of the whole offense for them. His rushing game in particular when they struggled. And so it'll be interesting to see if they're able to get a rushing game kind of besides that, getting Tawi Walker in here, as you mentioned, John, and getting him going a little bit. They had decent yards per carry, but as you mentioned, that offensive line has got some newcomers in it. They rebuilt that thing through the portal. You never know how that works with an offensive line as well. Walker, last time, the odd thing, Walker has played a game in Memorial Stadium as recently as all the Nebraska players have, because he played in the last game at Memorial Stadium for Wisconsin and went for, I believe, about 15 carries for 55 yards. Didn't put up huge numbers in that game. And then I guess back to the defensive issue, to build on what John said one more time. You know, to me, it's so much about how do you replace a defensive line last year that really were game changers for much of the season, and Ty Robinson in particular, but that whole unit with Butler and Nash. To me, that's the biggest question and the biggest loss across maybe the whole team from last year is just how you now. The good thing about that is if Matt Rule has a track record for anything, guys, it's having a solid defensive line. 2 years at Nebraska, I think, outperforming what fans expected at the defensive line position, to be honest. I mean, 2 years ago at this time, we were saying, I don't know about this defensive line. This could be the weak link on the team. Sure. And then they come out and they turn out to be arguably the best part of the team 2 years ago, at least through the beginning of the year. The only other thing I'll say, guys, that I want to see and I'll be curious about, and Nate, I don't know if you necessarily took it for granted, but you talked about Dylan Raiola and saying you think it'll be okay and really have the weapons. I just want to know, there were moments at the beginning of last year where you could dream really easily about just some crazy stuff. And I'm not saying those moments completely went away, but I think he had injury issues. I think he faced some better defenses, and they were not nearly as frequent throughout the rest of the year. I'm kind of curious if we'll have that September feeling we had last year again about Dylan Raiola and just the capability. I remember thinking at halftime of that Illinois game last year, he had just made a ridiculous pass. I believe Nair caught a touchdown right before halftime. I remember, I think I actually tweeted this out, guys. I said, I don't know what the rest of the team is going to be like, but Dylan Raiola is going to make sure Nebraska is in every game all year. And just to show you, that was the mindset through, three and a half games last year. And it obviously changed a little bit for a variety of reasons, but I'm really curious, if we see that version of him and we say, oh yeah, a full year here, an off season of development, getting healthy, doing whatever he needed to do to change his body. And now we're starting to really reap the benefits of having this 5-star quarterback that we've been so excited about.
Yeah, it's the adjustments to the adjustments. I mean, teams started to know how to defend him. They got film. They got a book on him. They were able to neutralize Nebraska's wide receivers, and that didn't help. And like you mentioned, Dylan got beat up last year. I mean, college football to a true freshman will do that, but he's better prepared. He's in an offense that will hopefully maximize his skills, and he certainly feels comfortable and is saying the right things to that end. And if people are able to get open for him, I don't know if there's any reason to not expect something big out of him this year.
John, do you think there's any doubt that this year's weapons for Dylan Raiola, his skill position players, are a significant upgrade than what he had last year, or is it maybe kind of a similar situation?
I think in the receiver room, it is significance, a pretty strong word, but it's a noticeable upgrade for sure. And time will tell if it is a significant upgrade. I mean, we've talked all off season about Dane Key, and you talk about a guy who played at the biggest level. He played in the SEC, so he's been against some of the best defenses in the country. And Isaiah Hunter, from Cal last year, had a tremendous season. And so these two guys come in. Then you bring back a guy who was one of the biggest surprises on the team in Ja'Cory Barney. I mean, we thought that there was going to be potential there. We didn't expect him to burst out onto the scene in year one. So you've got those three guys. The tight end room is very intriguing because you have Heinrich Harburg, who coming off the bus looks like the best athlete on the team. We know what he is capable of. You've got kind of the steady Eddie in Lindenmeyer. And then you've got the X factor. And to me, one of the big questions on offense this year is Carter Nelson. Where is he going to be coming off the injury? Is he going to be this unicorn, amazing athlete who, can be that utility knife that we see so much out of this position? If he can have a productive season, I think it opens up a whole new realm for this offense, because the one area where I am concerned a little bit, yes, you've got a returning Ramir Johnson. So or not Ramir, I'm sorry. Emmett Johnson, the brothers Johnson.
Yes.
So you have a proven commodity there, but he has not been asked to carry the load for an entire season. We saw what he was capable of doing at the end of last year. We know that he, can certainly be an effective target out of the backfield. He can be a safety valve, or he can be utilized in the screen game, but obviously as a running back, we know there's potential there, but the rest of that running back room is a huge question mark right now. I would say, Jack, overall, there has been an upgrade in the skill positions around him. Still some questions, but I think when you factor in the offensive line, and if the offensive line lives up to the expectations that I believe that they have, then again, I think the sky's the limit for this offense. They have the pieces around them. Now it's about making everything work together. I thought last year it was a very chancy move to bring in a new offensive coordinator so late in the season with so much on the line. Now we should be able to reap the benefits, because this is not, yes, the offseason, there's been a lot of changes. There's been, a lot of tweaking and all of that, but they already know what they have. You basically had a 4-game trial with Dana Holgorsen. He was able to piece things together. Imagine what he's able to do. It's kind of like, I'll use an old analogy, but it's like the MASH unit. The MASH unit was just about piecing things together, making you well enough so that you could transfer to the main hospital. That's what Dana Holgorsen was last year. He was the Hawkeye Pierce of Nebraska football. And now you've got a whole year where you can, have everything at his disposal, an entire offseason to prepare. Everything is there for this offense to take a very big step forward from where they have been the last couple of years.
John hinted at another concern I'll have about the offense. He mentioned the fact that Emmett Johnson is going to be asked to carry the load in a way he's not been asked to at his time in Nebraska. And part of that is because, they had the 4 oarsmen last year, the 4 different running backs.
Forgot about that.
But the other part of why he's going to be asked to carry the load is you don't know what he has behind him. He's got 2 guys who have not done hardly anything running the football at the college level, and so especially early on in the season when you're trying to get things established and when you're trying to get your offense set up, you're going to lean even more heavily on Emmett Johnson to get things going. So can he withstand not just the workload of being the top running back, but also the fact that it may be a heavier workload than normal, because how much do you want to give Isaiah Mosey the ball at this point? How much do you want to give Mekhi Nelson the ball? How much can Quentin Ives even play at this point? So he's going to have a workload on him that he's not had at Nebraska, even more so than he had toward the end of last year, when after the 4 oarsmen situation, he had emerged as Nebraska's lead running back.
Let's see if he can duplicate his touchdown number last year in the first game today. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
All right, let's grab a break right now. Thanks for joining us. It's Friday Husker Tailgate Thursday edition, not only on KLIN radio, KLIN streaming today, but also on your favorite KLIN social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We got pictures. We got video. This is exciting. Kenny Larrabee's put together great production today. So go ahead and watch us. Pull us up on your TV or your phone and join us for the day. We'll have Kevin Suits joining us during the 8 o'clock hour. We're going to have the sound off coming up. Fantasy Huskers keyword. We'll have our helmet sticker draft. We'll see. We usually do poorly in these. Maybe not this year. And, of course, the picks coming up at the end of the game, the end of the show, including that Husker game today. It's 6:29. Take a break. Back after this on KLIN.
When you're thinking Huskers,
Turns, hands off, plunges into the end zone, touchdown, Nebraska.
back to the Friday Husker Tailgate. But first, presented by Nebraska Sign Company. From Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back. Friday Husker Tailgate. Live from both Lincoln and Kansas City. We got John Bishop already at Kansas City at the hub for broadcasting of Nebraska, which is now located in Nebraska. 2 radio shows emanating from the 1620 The Zone house. I really would like to keep you guys there for about a month and make it like the original Real World. I would watch that show. Have we considered this? Has NRG Omaha considered? Does NRG Omaha like making money? Yes or no?
I think after what you saw last night here at 1620 The Zone House, I think it would be one of the most boring reality shows of all time. Let me tell you real quick about what we did. First of all, some poor dude left his login information from YouTube on the screen. So now he is subscribed to a lot of our programming. So congratulations to that. Yeah. But Connor Happer decided, because we're in Kansas City and he's a huge Royals fan like you guys are, we watched the 2014 AL wildcard game last night. And then after that, it was real sickos behavior. We decided to celebrate the last time I was on the road for one of these games, the 2019 Colorado game. So,
geez, why?
I didn't have control of the remote. The beers apparently were talking pretty loud. It was some real sickos behavior.
That is, that's something. Well, Nate,
why would you do that?
Yeah, no kidding, man. What?
Ask Happer. He's the one responsible.
Honestly, Nate and I should have been the ones there for the 2014 Royals game, and you should have been back here by yourself. So we would have fit in the crowd better there.
Whooping it up. I was calling an epic Omaha Storm Chasers game last night. 15-3 Iron Pigs.
Oh man.
Ooh.
Ouch. All right. Well, hopefully we have a little more excitement for you in store. And Nate and I will be heading to Kansas City. We'll be doing our show live from the rival KLIN house in Kansas City, where we will have KLIN staff staying there and in a much better, nicer, closer VRBO to Arrowhead Stadium, befitting of NRG Lincoln. But in any case, with that said, it's time for Fantasy Huskers. Guys, Bishop, did you hear we are giving away $150 in gift cards every week? Bar and Grill, to Rubidoo, and to Alumni Hall. So it's $150 in gift certificates every week to the person who correctly or most closely picks what's going to happen in the game, at least in the way that we ask it. This week we're asking, how many points does Nebraska score against Cincinnati? First, let's get the keyword out of the way. The final Kansas City keyword is Chiefs, Chiefs, Chiefs. So we did all Kansas City related keywords this week. Get that one in. And you can have perhaps the 10th pick. Look at the positivity. That's the story here, though.
It's not the positivity, Jack. Look at the females coming in hot. Connie and Angie and Suze. Holy moly.
Hey, if you saw the latest rankings, you'd understand why. But Kathy at 27, Tom 31, Dennis 34, Rob 35, Lewis 38, Connie 42, Angie 45, Mateo 46, and Suze 52. Yes. Ooh. It's nice, John. We're exposing you to a whole new audience that typically doesn't consume your content today. It's very exciting for you.
Well, they obviously aren't consuming our content if they're feeling that positive. My goodness, 52.
Suze, John, if you had this pick, and I know we're going to get your full prediction later, but if you had this pick, let's even say strategically in the context of this game, what would your pick be for the 10th pick here? Would you go to 26?
See, that's the thing. I hate to say this, but there's so much gap, from 26 on down. So you've got a lot of games in play. And remember, it's a week 1 game, so it could be a little bit sloppy. There could be some turnovers. One little factoid here, folks, in case you might be wagering. This total right now is like 53, 54 points. The last 6 times Nebraska has had a game close at a total of 50 or more, the under has hit. So it's still possible, obviously, if Nebraska puts up 35 and they shut out Cincinnati, the under hits. But I'm just saying, right now, strategically, the play would be to go lower because really there's not a whole lot of gaps. I suppose, the next one on here, maybe 28's always a good pick. That's a good football number. Plus you would have, I assume it's Price is Right rules, right?
Yep. No,
Okay.
It's closest. It can be a tie. There can be ties.
Yeah, 28, I suppose, would be a good pick. But yeah, this is a nice spread out field. Someone's going to come away with some great prizes this week.
There you go. All right. So that's it for your keywords this week. We'll wipe it up. We'll get a new question next week for the Akron game, and we will start with those Tuesday morning. All right. You're getting us clips all week. What do you want to play for us in today's Sound Off?
Well, let's start with the head football coach, Matt Rule, in his last meeting with the media on Tuesday, just talking about how ready this team is to take the field.
I think they want to play. I think it's very evident. Very mature team. As I said the other day, on Saturday they've probably sent me. I probably got 50 text messages from guys just, as they're watching different games and seeing different situational football happen, or some of the mistakes we told them would happen in first games. So I think they recognize, what's ahead of them. They recognize some of the rulings that were made in terms of the new rules, in terms of simulating a snap on defense with a shift, or illegal substitution rules that delay a game that are now prevalent. So we've been very locked in. Hopefully we continue that tonight.
You never hear a coach say, our mindset's been terrible and the guys have been lazy and they're not all that excited. But I think Matt Rule has been especially high on this team's mental game mindset. They've been focused, attention to detail. But, that is one of those things that you just don't know until they trot out of the tunnel and play somebody else. Where are they mentally? And he also mentioned, first game stuff that his guys are already clued in. And John Butler's talked about this some too. The fact that teams really have trouble tackling in this first game because you don't get the amount of contact in practice that you used to. So this team's ready for all the weirdness that tends to happen in game ones.
Here's how you'll know if they're in the mental spot they need to be. When there is a 3rd and 4, or there is a 4th and 1 and Nebraska is going for it, there's not a false start.
Oh, yes.
The amount of times that happened and has happened for years it's uncanny. The fact that it has happened so often on those key plays. Or another one is getting the play in so late, right,
Sure,
that you've got to take a timeout. And this goes to the thing that we haven't discussed yet, which probably is bearing the lead of this whole thing. And, hopefully for Nebraska, this doesn't get to a point where you get to butt clinching time. But if it does, Nebraska has still got to show. And listen, they did credit where credit is due. Pinstripe Bowl, it got to butt clinching time again, and they overcame it. And I'm hoping that is the first step in them not having issues in the clutch with these things. But that's been clearly a problem for a lot of these teams, a lot of these coaches for a long time. And it feels like it's something that's been hanging over the program. And I know the coaches hate to hear that. They hate to think about that, but you got to overcome it at some point. And if you keep not overcoming it, it's hard to think of it in any other way.
You're going to have mistakes. I mean, it's just natural. It's going to happen. They tend to happen perhaps a little bit more early in the season when everything is new and you're trying to get used to, maybe new people lining up next to you or different procedures, different things like that. The key is to not let those mistakes compound further by, someone trying to do too much. Stay within the system, stay within what you're supposed to do. So if you have that scenario, like you pointed out, where you're 4th and 1 and someone, moves too soon and now you have to punt the football. This is where improved special teams can maybe get some of that field position back by pinning the other team deep, or the defense can come back and get a quick 3 and out. So it's all about making sure that mistakes that will happen aren't compounded because you've made another mistake on top of it, trying too much to overcome what you just did.
And that's where you get the snowball where, oh, geez, they hit one big play offensively, and then, oh, geez, we just went 3 and out, and then, hey, there's a bad punt, and it just goes and goes and goes. It's just take care of your job, your play, your assignment, and don't do anything crazy. Stay within yourself.
Do you think they have a special defensive blitz called the snowball? They should do that.
There should be
The snowball.
The
All right.
snowball.
All right. That's what I would call it if I designed it. All right. What do we got next, Nate?
Well, the staff has talked quite often about how this camp has been really good. Dana Holgerson has seen plenty of preseason camps as an assistant, as a head coach. And so I trust what he says, not just because he's not a guy who tends to BS, but also because he's seen a lot. So Dana Holgerson on what he has liked about preseason practice.
Just the structure. It felt like I was experiencing Hard Knocks, just from like that NFL camp stuff. Just how we practiced, how we had it structured, the situational stuff. And I encouraged it. He half the time wouldn't even tell us what the situation is going to be. We just got to be able to react to it. Okay, and so we introduce it, we teach it, but then he springs things on us, and we got to be able to handle it. So situationally, I thought it was exceptional. The organization of the rest and the recovery, this facility just is the best in the country. From show up in the morning, and a lot of times these guys don't leave, so to speak. And now that school's in session here, they still don't have to leave a lot because the academic component that exists up there. So they got everything. Our players have everything that they need to be able to get their bodies ready to practice the next practice. And that's what I've seen is the advantage of getting our guys to where they can perform at a high level in practice every single time that we go out there and practice.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the emphasis on situational football was really key in this preseason camp to try and cut off sort of that anxiety and that worry when Nebraska got down, close game, late game situation, gotta have it, gotta execute. They've worked on it. They've prepared for it as much as they can. I know it's a different animal with 70,000 people watching you and expecting you, but it certainly felt like an emphasis this preseason.
Real quick, a couple of things. First of all, number one, if you heard a little excitement in the background, that's because we had a cameo appearance on the video by Gary Sharp during one of the breaks of his morning show. I believe he came on
KLIN circa 1999.
Yeah, by the way, we have the amount of KLI. I mean, every morning show emanating, every member of every morning show emanating from the 1620 The Zone House is a KLIN alum with Gary Sharp, Matt McMaster. We got old school, we got new school, both sides of me here, and then you, and then we got us over here. And so it's 5 KLIN people over 2 shows. We ought to do a Chinese fire drill like every segment, right? And shuffle up the teams. Yeah, that's really what we should be doing. Or we need you
Not a bad idea.
Or we need you to just carry the computer over to their table and just set us there and let us all be together for a segment. But real quick to that clip too. Listen, I don't think there's any doubt that under Matt Rule's sort of regime, the infrastructure that's been built around this program and improved around this program is really significant. Obviously, there's one thing that's got to come with that for it to matter, and that is success and wins. That said, if they can get that, if they do take that step, Matt Rule is going to go his stock everywhere, nationally, locally, with Husker fans. It's going to rocket pretty quickly if he can get this thing together this year, because I think all of the outside stuff has gone pretty well. And there's plenty of coaches where we can say that wasn't the case for, right? Yeah. And whether they were winning or not. And it seems like for the most part it has, and he seems to be doing it in a way that is very smart, that is forward thinking, that is thinking about the world of college football. And so like he's got a huge chance here this year. Sure. And I hate to build it up into too much, but man, there's 2 real distinct directions this thing can go this year. But if it goes well, Matt Rule's stock will rise quickly.
Let's keep something in mind. We have been so used to drama around here.
Yes.
And not just in the season. It's the off-season drama, the unnecessary drama. This has been, it's been fairly quiet under Matt Rule to start with, but this has been the quiet. I mean, honestly, probably the most ruffling of jimmies, as some of our colleagues have called it, was probably when Matt Rule jokingly said something about a 40-team college football playoff, and that became a big story. But that's been it. I mean, it has been so quiet, and that's because of the button-down nature and everyone team focus, priority focus forward, and it's. I think you're going to see everything manifest itself off of that. It's going to be successful because they're getting the unnecessary stuff out of the way.
A friend of mine who's watching the show texted this into me. He asked, is it a good thing that Matt Rule's doing all these podcasts and the walk and talks and all that? I tend to think yes, because like John said, he's thought through everything. And I think the calculation is, look, I need to be out there. I need to be out front for my program. I need the roller coaster car is at the top, and we're about to go on a great ride here. And so I need to be out there marketing this program and getting the gospel of Nebraska football out there by any means available to me. And now in social media, you have more means available to you. But the organization of Nebraska football has gotten so much better. And when you look at the other things in this program, I mean, from a talent standpoint, Nebraska, should be a top third of the Big Ten. So why weren't they? It's because things were disorganized. It's because things weren't well thought out. Now they are, and hopefully, all that thinking and all that planning should be bearing fruit. But you're right, Jack. This is the time when it cashes into wins. Now, it usually does under Matt Rule. He's talked about that, but at the same time, the bill is due this year.
Yeah. A recovery pool is only a recovery pool if it doesn't come with a whole bunch of wins.
Yeah.
One more real quick one. We need to take a break, but if you got one quick one that we can maybe hit before we go to this break, Nate, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So Dane Key, I had the chance to chat with him one-on-one earlier this week. And
we aired it on Drive Time Lincoln last night. Yeah.
So listen on the podcast if you're so inclined. But he's a key to this season for me and I think he's going to be good because if Dylan Ryle is going to take a step forward, it's because the targets around him get better. And so Dane Key, who was a very productive wide receiver at Kentucky, talks about how his game has improved since he's come to Nebraska.
Yeah, I feel like it's grown so much, not only from my physical play, but also just my mental play, because I feel like Coach Rule has done a great job of just preparing me for the season and getting me mentally stronger to play 4 quarters, 60 minutes of football, and just playing hard every play, playing fast every play. I feel like Coach Rule has done a great job of just getting me prepared to play this final season as being a Husker.
So there you go. I think, again, it speaks to the mental aspect of it. It speaks to the strength on this coaching staff. I mean, Dana Holgerson knows wide receivers. Nikhil Shorts is a high-level wide receivers coach, so seems to be all falling into place.
All right, let's grab our break right now. We're going to come back and get you kind of any of the updates that we've got late coming into this game. Any injury news is what we're going to do with this segment here throughout the course of the year. 7 o'clock hour, though, coming up. We normally will give away helmet stickers. We got no games to give them away yet, so we will do our helmet sticker draft where we try and predict, which we did unbelievably inaccurately last year, who is going to be winning the helmet stickers this year. We'll have our morning drive. A little bit later, we'll have opposition disposition. Kevin Suits is going to join us as well, and we are rolling on a Thursday morning. It's the Friday Husker Tailgate Thursday edition, game day edition on KLIN.
Peacocks belong in the zoo, not your billing statement. Every Husker game is free on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN. Welcome back to the Friday Husker Tailgate on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Back to the Tailgate Show. Jack Mitchell, John Bishop live in Kansas City. Nate Rohr with me here in the capital city. Kevin Suits, 1011 sports director, will join us a little bit later in the show. Guys, just a couple of minutes left here before the top of the hour, then we'll get back going with the helmet stickers. Nate, any late news in terms of injuries, in terms of personnel that we should know going into the game tonight?
Well, we got definition on the kicker position. Kyle Cunanan will get the first attempt at field goals. Tristan Alvano and John Hull will both be battling for the kickoff job. And we learned that Vincent Shavers was battling a hamstring injury through the latter stages of preseason camp, still expected to play.
John Cunanan doing the kicking and a transfer in. It'll be interesting to see if they found their guy at the beginning of the year, because that'll be kind of weird, to be honest.
It's good to have, though, three guys who, have kicked before. So, you're going to find somebody. And it sounds like Nebraska feels comfortable, if they get inside the other team's 30-yard line. It's all those longer kicks that they're looking for a little bit more consistency. So I think I think it's a good decision here. See what Cunanan can do. And then after that, if he can't do it, you've got two other guys who have been there before.
Right. We've seen them do it, at least at times.
Yeah,
so hopefully that depth is going to be something that is different and helpful for the team this year. All right, we are going to grab a break here for the top of the hour. Streaming not only at KLIN.com, the KLIN app, of course, 1499.3 AM and FM respectively, but also on the KLIN Facebook, YouTube, Twitter/X. We're all over today, and hopefully you're going to join us throughout the morning. It's a Friday Husker Tailgate special Thursday game day edition, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. It is 6:58 on KLIN.
Thinking Huskers.
Kaboom! Wow! Lots of arms wearing red today.
Think 1499.3 KLIN.
Dowdell's the back. Dillon goes shotgun. Huskers line up quickly. Turn, snap, hand it off to Dowdell. Leap for the goal line. He's in. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Who do you think you're fooling? Nobody's thinking about their job the day before a Husker game.
Being flushed out of the pocket, rolling downfield, looking, throws. Pass intercepted. Picked off by the Huskers at the 27-yard line. Marquise Buford with an INT. Huskers will take over at their own 27-yard line. Kick sailing is blocked at the line of scrimmage. Huskers blocked the kick. Keep the 0 on the board. It was Ty Robinson up in the air to knock it down.
This is the Friday Husker Tailgate with Jack Mitchell, Nate Rohr, John Bishop, and Kevin Suits on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
All right, welcome into the Friday Husker Tailgate Thursday edition. It is the season premiere of a show that John Bishop and I started back in 2008, I believe, was the first year that we did this show.
Sounds about right.
And I'm trying to even think, well, that was back when the original team was myself, you, Kevin Kugler, and Damon Benning, I believe, in that first year. There have been quite a few alums through this show over the year. Joe Gans, Jason Peter, Brendan Stye, Mike Schaefer, Corey Ross. How could I forget him? There have been, I mean, this is like a little mini sort of media and Husker Hall of Fame here that have been on this show over the years. So it's very exciting to get back going and to have Bishop back on the show with us for a second year now in the modern era of the Friday Husker Tailgate. Now, one of the things that's become a tradition on the Friday Husker Tailgate is virtual helmet stickers. Nebraska has never done the thing where they actually put the stickers on the helmet, a la Florida State or Ohio State or several other schools.
Michigan,
or Michigan. And so, since they don't do it with actual ones, we decided that we are going to award them here at the Friday Husker Tailgate in a virtual fashion. And so after every game, all three of us, John, Nate, myself, will have 3 helmet stickers to give out for each game to the player that we think deserves it. And it's a fairly kind of subjective standard in terms of who we can use however we want to. You know, we can do whatever we want in terms of what merits getting a helmet sticker. But one of the things we like to do at the beginning of the year, just because it's always an interesting tool to look back at throughout the course of the year, is to do what we call the helmet sticker draft. It's almost like playing fantasy football with our own helmet sticker picks. There's no prize for this, but it does kind of show us, I guess I ordered the draft on it the following year, but it does kind of show us just how our perceptions of the teams and the players change over the years. And to that end, last year when we did our helmet sticker draft, guys, it was really interesting how the perception on the last week of August was compared to, well, end of November when we did our final show. If you remember, guys, last year we did our helmet sticker draft, and our first round picks last year were Dylan Raiola, Nash Hutmaker, that was John's first overall pick, Jamal Banks was my first overall pick, and then Caleb did it with us at the time. His was Tommy Fedoni. Others who were picked last year: Cam Leonard, Isaac Gifford, Jalen Lloyd, Ramir Johnson, Isaiah Nair. There were a lot of guys. Some of the guys we drafted didn't even get a single helmet sticker last year.
Yeah,
which is amazing to think that there may be guys that we're saying right now that are in that same spot. Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll do a better job of this whole thing, but it really does show. I mean, you look at that. We thought Jamal Banks was going to be a star last year. We thought Jalen Lloyd was going to be heavily involved in that offense last year. Nash Hutmaker, I think, had a good year, but maybe didn't put up the numbers that we thought that he would last year. And then, of course, Nair, Ramir Johnson as well. All of those guys ended up being one. Now, I will give credit to John because he somehow picked John Bullock with his 4th pick last year, his Mr. Irrelevant, and that was maybe the best pick of the entire team.
That was my best pick, period. So I mean, Emmett with yeah, I mean, we all did better as the round got later. So hopefully this year we have a much better feel for what this team is going to be like, but I'm guessing that we'll probably have a few folks who are like, why did I draft that guy when that guy was available?
Let's just try as a unit to do better this year.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
agree.
let's just try to do that. So since there are only 3 of us, there were 4 last year when we did this. I am going to give us all 5 picks this year, and so we'll put together a team of 5 players. We think we can amass the most helmet stickers with our team, and again, we are the ones who decide the helmet sticker. So I guess you could rig this and win if you wanted to, but that'd be stupid. There's no prize.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I have made the draft order based on how the draft went last year, and since Nate ended up having the best overall team, Nate's team last year, Dylan Raiola, Ty Robinson. Ty Robinson helped you out a lot.
Yep.
Isaiah Nair, not so much, and
Yep.
Jamari Butler, a little bit. He had 24 stickers. And so he gets to go first. I will go second because my team did second best with Jamal Banks, Isaac Gifford, Jalen Lloyd, Emmett Johnson, who saved me last year with my 4th pick. And then John's team last year, Nash Hutmaker, Cam Leonard, Janiron Bonner, and John Bullock. So John will go third here. All right, Nate, you get to go first overall. Do the honors. Who is the first overall pick in the helmet sticker draft this year? I think I know, but maybe I don't.
With the first overall pick, as he was last year, I select quarterback Dylan Raiola.
Okay. Did you have to? I mean, was there any hesitation whatsoever? No, none at all. None at all. I think I probably would have done the same thing. Okay, Dylan Raiola, first off the board. I planned for this contingency, guys. I knew exactly what I was going to do if Dylan wasn't there. This may surprise you guys. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. But it's a no-brainer to me. I don't think there is enough being said about this guy's role in the offense and on the team this year, and that's Ja'Cory Barney. He is my overall pick. And there's plenty said about him, and I know he was, he's been kind of more vocal and he was hyping up the crowd. But I watched his film last year, and I can't remember many Nebraska players in the last decade who have jumped off of just kind of the eye test, like he has. And it feels like he was close to a much better season statistically than he had last year. A lot of plays called back, right, because of the penalties. You was just close to breaking a few of them, and he looked good as it is. Now, he's also going to be returning kicks this year. And I expect that to be a significant improvement in the return game. I expect him to bust a few of them as well. So I feel very good about my pick number 2, and it sounds like John would have been making that pick too.
I'll be honest with you. If I would have had the first pick, I almost would have picked him first because, well, when you think about how we do the helmet stickers, unfortunately, when you're a quarterback, you sometimes get graded on a different curve than everyone else. Dylan could have a 225-yard passing game, but maybe he didn't throw any touchdowns. It's still a good game, managed the game well, but other people were better, and so he kind of gets passed over. But a guy like Barney, and you mentioned it there at the end, Jack, the kick return ability. He is very confident that he's going to be the next great punt returner at Nebraska. And I thought, between all of those different things, and personally, I think he's going to be the leading receiver this year. I think he's going to have the most receptions on the team. This might have been my first overall pick. So yes, I'm very angry that I didn't get this one.
All right, you got the 3rd pick this year, but now you get 2 in a row. So what do you want to do with that?
All right. Well, then I'm going to go. I'm concerned about the running game, but there's one guy I'm not concerned about. And when you see what he did last year, when Dana had controls of the offense for the last 4 games, you saw more of Emmett Johnson. So to salute my regular partner, Josh Peterson, I will join the Emmett Johnson hive. I will take Emmett Johnson with my first pick.
He's another one that his numbers are, I don't know, like sneakily better than you might think in terms of yards per carry.
Yep.
Again, I mentioned this earlier in the show. He just hasn't scored touchdowns, right? He hasn't had long runs for the most part. He hasn't broken off those huge runs. But if you look at his yards per carry in particular, and he's had enough to qualify for the minimum or whatever in the last 2 seasons, and they compare favorably with really solid running backs. He had a better yards per carry than Blake Corum did 2 years ago for Michigan. So I'm with you, John, on that. I just am fascinated to see what he can do when he gets a completely full work. A, will he get a completely full workload? B, what will he look? And will he start breaking some of those long runs off? Because that's the difference between him becoming a solid back and a very good back, I would say.
All right, so I get the fourth pick then, right?
Yes, you get 2 in a row here. We're snaking.
All right, so I'm gonna move up my linebacker pick from my last pick to my second pick, and I'm gonna go with a young man who obviously has Nebraska pedigree. He's fought through some injuries, but he's earned himself a single digit, and he's wearing number 0. I'm gonna go Javen Wright with my second pick.
Wow. No offense to Javen, but I think you could have got him later in the draft. Wow.
I could have, but I think he's going to have a big season this year. So,
all right, give me your case for Javen Wright being the top defensive player off the board. I would have never guessed that.
Well, I mean, we're going to look at tackles, obviously. We're going to look at, perhaps some splash plays. I think there's a possibility here that, again, I don't know if he's going to get a huge volume of helmet stickers this year, but I think he's going to do, enough. Because I'll be honest with you, I really don't know where I would have gone with my first pick. McCollum might have been an option there. But, I wanted to go to a defensive position where I think is going to bring up some stats, bring up some numbers. And it may not be all splashy numbers like TFLs or sacks, but I think with a lot of tackles and the ability for him to make some plays, that's why I went with Javen Wright. I know it might be a bit of a reach here, but I'm trying for a little bit of tackle volume here, and we'll see how it works.
My reasoning for my next player, which is a defensive player, is very similar to yours. I'm looking for stats, splash plays, the type of things that attract us on the helmet sticker segment. And in fact, I'm going with someone who has the same surname as your pick, but is actually the son of LeBron James in the movies. I am going with Sierra Wright for the exact same reasons that John went with Javen Wright. He made special teams plays last year. He had pick sixes last year. He made some really impressive tackles for loss. I'm really fascinated what he looks like this year. He really came on at the end of last year, and it still kind of strikes me as, I don't know if throwaway is the right word, but the way that they brought him in so late in the summer last year, got him on the roster, and it kind of had this little bit of a novelty feel around it because of the acting backstory and the USC transfer. You're like, okay, this is a fun story. I don't know about, that he's going to be a big contributor. By the end of the year, he was one of the most reliable people on that defense, especially in the back seven, for sure. So I'm going to go with him. I'm excited to see what Sierra, LeBron's kid, can do this year. Nate?
A LeBron James kid who's actually good at sports. Who'd have thunk it?
It's going to be tough for LeBron when Nebraska plays Akron.
Yeah,
obviously divided loyalties, but he might have the half and half shirt. I don't know. We'll see.
He'll definitely be there. Okay, so we've had a bit of a run on defensive players here, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue it. I'm going to be in the same neighborhood as John Bishop. I'll go with the other linebacker, though, Marquess Watson Trent. I think, he was such a tackle machine at Georgia Southern. He's going to be involved pretty heavily, I think, in terms of just being sort of, a solid, steady, make $1 million, 8-9 tackles a game. So Watson Trent, I select 6th.
Guys, real quick on Watson Trent, and I need to keep this things moving and not talk about every single one of these, but there are all these interesting facts on these guys. But Watson Trent, how we talk about, or at least I talk about, just how, grizzled veterans some of the Nebraska defensive backs are. And even, guys like Turner Corcoran, Rocco Spindler, guys who had gotten a lot of starts other places over the years, Malcolm Hartzog, Buford. Watson Trent has more started football games than anyone on this team, which is given, how long it feels like Hartzog and Buford have been playing. Singleton as well. Even a guy like Corcoran, it's pretty impressive. 37 starts. Now, this is one of the few COVID year players that are still left. They're still there. He got his
still alive.
His freshman year. He got his redshirt year in 21. And so 22, 23, 24, 25. So that he played in Nebraska in 2022
Yes.
in Lincoln for Georgia Southern. Had a very good game, too, for them. That was his freshman year. That was one of his first games of his career. Now he comes back to Nebraska, and that's a good pick. He was next on my defensive list. So let's see, Nate. Do you have two in a row here?
Yes, I do.
Turn? All right, go ahead then.
So I'll flip it back to offense. Maybe I'm just biased because I had a chance to chat with him this week, but I think Dane Key is going to be big for this offense.
Man.
So Dane Key
You're
is
going
my
right down
third
my list.
selection. Well, I can see it from here. No, I can't.
We have
Right at the back of your monitor.
man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay, I got it. I was gonna do this later, but I'm afraid he's gonna be off the board next time I come around. And somehow we have not yet even discussed during the show probably the most discussed Husker of the entire offseason.
Ooh.
From down under, put another shrimp on the barbie, because I'm taking the punter, Archie Wilson, for my next helmet sticker. And yes, there are definitely games, hopefully not too many of them this year,
Right,
where we go to the punter for a helmet sticker because it can be a nice kind of escape route. If we
See, I think this is a reach. Not that Archie won't have his moments this year, but how many? I mean, you're hoping that we're not having to make this a helmet sticker, that this isn't one of those, oh my God, the game was horrible. We have, I think last year, didn't I give one to the fans? I mean, there were a couple of games where we were desperate for helmet stickers. I think when you get to the punter, you're being a little desperate. So I think this is a reach.
One year, Dave, when Dave was doing the show with me, he gave them to people selling hot dogs, the people who shoot off fireworks,
right?
Ushers. In my defense, when Archie Miller does one of these
Archie Wilson
does one of these dude perfect bicycle kick punts, and everyone's raving, and it's all over the internet, I have to give him my helmet sticker. I'll remind you of what you just said there.
Well, but what if they win 42-7? Are you really going to remember it if they win 42-7?
Who knows?
Buddy,
what
we
he'll
live
do.
in the Big Ten now. We need punters.
He may be used as a tailback by the end of the year. You never know. You just don't.
Okay. But I appreciate the gift, because I thought you were going to go with my next pick, and that is Isaiah Hunter.
All right. Isaiah Hunter, the receiver that comes in from Cal and gets a little less discussion than Dane Key, but honestly, his contribution to the offense is going to be one of the big sort of harbingers of how this offense looks, I think, and whether you've got multiple threats.
Oh boy! Now the next one. See, this is where you struggle a little bit. You're figuring, okay, where should I go? Where should I go? You know what? I'm gonna go with Marquise Buford.
Ooh,
I'm gonna pick another one of those experienced guys out of the secondary. Again, looking for some quantity here. Maybe not splashy plays, but I'm looking for some quantity here, and hopefully, he has a game or two where he makes a big interception.
Marquise Buford, another guy who started during the 2022 season. I always point this out. He started in that Ireland game. That was his first game.
Ooh, yes.
And so he and Marcus Watson Trent playing in those early games earlier in their career now come together. I am going to go back on offense here. Everybody's going to think I'm doing too much of a novelty team, but I feel like they're going to look for ways.
You're going to pick Gramstead?
No, but maybe with my last pick. I think they're going to try and figure out ways to get Heinrich Harburg involved. I think they're going to be creative with it. I think he's going to do some fun things that'll make us sort of really want to dole out those helmet stickers to him. And so I'm going to go with Heinrich Harburg for my fourth pick.
Yeah, I feel like he won't have a lot of plays, but I feel like he'll have a few big ones, trick plays or running on the goal line, things like that. I'm going to go defense with my next pick, and maybe this is a little aspirational here, but Williams Nwaneri. You like the talent, you like the possibility of some numbers as a guy coming off the edge. So I'm going to take Williams Nwaneri. And then, sort of drinking that Kool-Aid, guys coming off the edge, unknown quantities. But, hey, if you're a pass rush guy, you put up numbers, Dasan McCullough.
Oh, you're going two transfers there. All right. By the way, you have the all-transfer team, Dylan Raiola, and all transfers on your team.
Yes. Well,
right now. All right, that leaves me with my last pick here on this. Man, I'm thinking about going a couple of different ways here. Let's do this. This is a gamble. I was surprised this guy didn't get a black shirt. I have heard so many good things about him during this offseason. I'm so excited to see him play full time and kind of be perhaps the reason why we don't have to worry so much about the defensive line regressing, about losing some stars. I'm still going Riley Van Poppel because even though he didn't get a black shirt, I believe in him. I think by the end of the year, we're going to be talking about him a whole lot this year. So I will go with Riley Van Poppel with my last pick.
All right. So we may have to have a ruling on this one. But, and hear me out. I'm very bullish on this offensive line. I think they're going to have a great season. But the problem is, how many times do we recognize an offensive lineman? Right?
That's good.
So last year, by the way, we did have 2 stickers given to, I believe you coined this term, Uncle Don's boys.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm wondering, is it proper? Is it within the rules? Is it legal to pick Uncle Don? Because how many times will we laud the offensive line, but we may not necessarily pick out one guy or another, but just Uncle Don in general as an overall statement of, hey, that offensive line was great today.
I'll allow it because this is a very innovative show, very progressive in what we are okay with.
And just because of this, I'm definitely giving at least 3 helmet stickers this year to Uncle Don.
Every game when they get over 110 rushing yards, John is like, look at those road graders. I'm going with Uncle Don.
Dylan Raiola was able to walk off the field on his own power. Clearly, they did a great job.
Earlier, I said nobody would rig this game. Now John's going to rig this game. Here are the teams. Nate has Dylan Raiola and a band of transfers. Dylan Raiola, Marcus Watson-Trent, Dane Key, Williams Winery, and Desan McCullough. I've got Ja'Cory Barney, LeBron's kid, Sierra Wright, Heinrich Harburg, Archie Wilson, and Riley Van Poppel. And Bishop has Javen Wright, Isaiah Hunter, let's see, Marquise Buford, Uncle Don, and I missed one of his on there too. Emmett Johnson, of course.
Emmett Johnson, my first pick.
There you go, first pick overall. All right, we're going to grab a break. We're going to talk about the 5 things you're going to be talking about and discussing this Husker weekend. Welcome to the Friday Husker Tailgate season premiere on a Thursday. And we'll be back right after this on KLIN.
Topics to get you going for game day. It's a special Friday Husker Tailgate edition of the Morning Drive, presented by Stonebridge Insurance and Wealth Management on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3.
And to the Friday Husker Tailgate on a Thursday. Jack Mitchell, Nate Rohr in studio here in the capital city. John Bishop is in the 1620 The Zone House in Kansas City already. He will be broadcasting live this afternoon. You guys are going to be by Kauffman Stadium, is that right? For your
so Blur Parties has set up their tailgate inside Kauffman Stadium. So we are in the concourse. We will have a view of the field. It'll be a nice little setup for us.
Can you get me in there today?
I think we can try, yeah. Absolutely.
Get me in there today. I want to hang out there. I'm gonna be in the parking lot. I don't have to work. This is my job today. I don't have to work after 9 a.m. Okay, it's party time. Anyhow, let's count them down. This is the Morning Drive.
Number 5.
Starting with today, as I get to my here we go. One of the first things that people will be analyzing in his first few drives of the game for Nebraska is if Dylan Raiola has taken that step. John, what does that look like to you for this first game?
I believe that this is the year where Dylan needs to play like a 5-star. It's time to put the saddle on his back, or put the saddle on his back and let him carry the team this year. He's got the talent around him. He'll have a really good offensive line. And so, but what I'm looking for, at least from him, I'm looking for good decision making. I'm looking for him maybe not to hold the ball as much. He's talked about how he is, reshaped his body a little bit, maybe a little bit more in the run game. He's had an entire offseason now to work with Dana Holgerson. So it's about, I think last year there was this desire of him to make those big plays, make those big home run throws. Those will be there, but they're only there when other things are working in the scope of the offense. So making those proper decisions, checking down when it's necessary, or taking off with his legs, being a little bit more willing to do that. So I'm just looking really in general for what his decision making is like, and if that has improved a little bit, and if there are those moments where he doesn't hold that ball just a little too long.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just take what's there, don't miss, convert the routine play. I think that's been a real focus that, hey, you don't have to do anything too crazy, just do what we're asking of you, stay within yourself. But when the big shot comes open, when Ja'Cory Barney breaks in behind the defense, you hit him. So just manage the offense, consistently gain ground, and then once in a while hit that big play. That's when we know Dylan has taken that step forward that I think we're all expecting that he will.
High percentage, easy completions between 5 and 10 yards. That's what I want to see. The passes that other teams have completed on Nebraska that you see, and you're like, why is that always there? Why is that quick slant route always there? Why is that sideline out always there? Start to find those. Really get fat on those. Easily convert 3rd and 4s with those. That, to me, is going to be the first thing. And exactly like John said, I think that'll lead you to some of the more spectacular plays. And then once those happen, you can start to say, okay, I'm going to let myself dream a little bit about what he can be like during this season. Moving on.
Number 4.
This week we've had a depth chart. We've had a depth chart. We've had captains. We've had single digits. And we've had black shirts selected, at least on the defensive side of the ball. And guys, it's created kind of an interesting patchwork of players in terms of like some getting certain honors, but not others, to the point that it's a little difficult to determine who's risen to the top this fall on the defense, especially in certain positions. John, we'll start with you again. What personnel usage situation on defense will you be most interested in Saturday night, or do you feel like you're kind of the most cloudy on what it's going to look like, at least?
On the defensive side, I mean, certainly, I was a little surprised that Williams Nwaneri elevated this high on the depth chart already. Not that I didn't think he would participate this year, but coming off, that year where he only had a handful of snaps at Missouri, I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a project and that we would see him in spots. But the fact that he got the oar next to Cam Leonard, now he may have not got a black shirt, he may have not gotten a single digit, but he is going to factor in. So watching him this season and watching that rotation, because, Cam last year didn't maybe have the season that he was hoping for. And so perhaps it's a little bit of a wake-up call. So I'm going to be watching how that position is rotated. And then I'm going to also look for a couple of backups this year. Donovan Jones has been talked about as essentially the third starting cornerback by the Nebraska defensive coaches. So certainly, Andrew Marshall, the transfer, and Sierra Wright, they're going to get the majority of snaps. But when Donovan Jones comes in the game, and then one other name, he was called out a couple weeks ago by Matt Rule, saying he is a Big Ten caliber safety. He just now needs to put those things together, and that's Rex Guthrie, the second-team Rover behind Deshaun Singleton. So even though this defense has a lot of questions in terms of its front line, and certainly we can talk about the guys up front when you have to replace guys like Hutmaker and Robinson, I'm looking at Nwaneri, I'm looking at a couple of the backups this year in terms of how many snaps they get, especially in a deep and experienced secondary.
I was a little surprised that Riley Van Poppel was not even an or at nose guard, especially.
But he was a single digit, right?
But he was a single digit.
This is what I'm talking about. What's what? I don't know what. What's this mean? What's that mean?
Yeah, what's the difference between production and what the guys see in practice? Not to say Elijah Judy can't do the job. And nose guard is such a specialized position. Where, defensive end versus defensive tackle, they have their subtleties, but you feel like that's a little more interchangeable, where nose guard is kind of its own animal. So maybe that explains it, but I was surprised that there wasn't at least an or on Riley Van Poppel. I share the surprise about Nwaneri being an or, and you get the sense that he's going to play. He's going to start.
Right.
Which hopefully speaks well to the effort he's putting out there in practice, because that was the one question about him at Missouri. He obviously has the talent to do it, but does he have the motor? Apparently, and again, this is speculation. You hope that his old high school coach Mosey was able to turn the key on that motor.
You said Riley Van Poppel. That's the biggest one for me. Given how he came up in the clutch multiple times, took that red shirt last year to try and get to this point where he would be sort of taking the Ty Robinson or the Nash Hutmaker spot, I should say, essentially. And then to have him come up and be number 2 on the depth chart really took me by surprise. I'm not sure exactly what was behind it, but did have that single-digit number. You want to add?
The one thing, though, too, is that especially at nose guard, that's a position where you're going to rotate. So, it is strange.
I think almost all of these positions will get if it looks anything like it did the last couple of years, but still, I kind of thought he would be. We'll see on that one. So that's one of the questions, is just how do they switch that around? I agree with what you guys said about the defensive ends. How much Nwaneri, Leonard. I think the other guy, Keona Davis, will be the one. Is there going to be sort of a fourth person that works in there? And then which linebackers, how much kind of do the packages change? Might you have multiple of those guys who are at the jack position? Could you see Jordan Ochoa in there along with Deshaun McCullough sometimes? I think Watson Trent will be in there regularly. We'll see about Shaver's health, and McGahee's health too. But those are two guys I expected to be huge parts of this defense as well. And so I'm really interested, because it looks like they've got, at least at linebacker, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or so guys that I think we expected to be playing regularly now on that. And then the defensive backs is a little bit more straightforward. I think John mentioned some of the backups, but I think those will be fairly straightforward. And it's just going to be a matter of who comes in to spell these guys and how much you see a guy like a Rex Guthrie or a Caleb Benning, right, or a Donovan Jones to get in there and get some time, and who starts to rise up in that group. All right, moving on.
Number 3.
Next on the list for the morning drive, Cincinnati started out last season looking good, but finished one game short of bowl eligibility after losing 5 straight. Nebraska fans know how that feels, unfortunately. For a team that brings back its coach and its quarterback, how well do you feel like what kind of a challenge, Nate, they will be for Nebraska tonight? We'll start with you. It's interesting because they do have, a decent amount of continuity for some of these teams that you'll see, but at the same time, they also have a ton of transfers that are in, and they ended the season on kind of a sour note too.
Yeah, so they're an interesting program to figure out where they're going to go, because as you mentioned, there's a lot of continuity there for now, but Satterfield's got to be feeling the heat, which may lead to some chances being taken. You look at, of course, they bring back the quarterback Sorsby, but they lose a 1,000-yard rusher. They lose 3 of their top 4 receivers. They've got a decent amount back defensively, and then the Godfather Corleone in the middle of the defense was hurt most of last year, and so his production was down. So you feel like, who's going to help Sorsby out offensively? That's my big question, because especially him being a mobile quarterback, it's going to be a challenge for a defense that's going to have a lot of moving parts and a lot of questions yet to answer as far as how they're going to be coordinated, how they're going to rush the quarterback, where they're going to get a pass rush from. So many questions in the front 7.
John, you feel like you got a good handle on the quality of the Cincinnati team?
We really don't, but I think, again, it provides a very unique challenge, a winnable but very unique challenge. Both of these teams will come in with almost completely rebuilt receiving cores, especially Cincinnati. The young man, Jeff Caldwell, who is a senior transfer from Lindenwood, I know it's a lower level of college football, but this guy had a broad jump of 11 feet 9 inches, which would have been better than any broad jump in the history of the NFL Combine, just to put that into perspective. So he's got some really good talent. Royer, their tight end, he's been a very valuable target. He set the record last year, broke Travis Kelce's school record for receptions in a single season. But I'm particularly interested about the running game. And I talked about this earlier. The big question for me was Nebraska's run defense. Evan Pryor and Tawee Walker, they're listed as an or at running back. Walker's a little bit more of the physical guy. He's more of a bowling ball, 5'8", 218. But Evan Pryor is a home run hitter. He had 4 plays last year of 50 or more yards. He had 6 touchdowns last year. He was second on the team in touchdowns scored, even though he was the backup to the 1,000-yard rusher that Nate mentioned from a year ago. So I think offensively, this is going to be a really unique challenge for Nebraska. And then you look on the defensive side, sure, a lot of the attention has been on Dante Corleone, but don't sleep on these linebackers. Dingle and Golday had really solid seasons last year, and Simeon Coleman was a freshman All-American last year. So I think up front defensively, they think they're a little bit better around Corleone up front. They've got a couple of DNs that were injured last year and didn't play as much. They think they're bringing back a pretty decent defense, at least in the front 7. The back end of the defense, though, is a little bit suspect. So I honestly think tonight, watch for some big plays potentially in the passing game for Nebraska and maybe in the running game, especially with Evan Pryor and their quarterback Sorsby for Cincinnati.
By the way, you also should mention one of the coolest names out there that Cincinnati has. They got the transfer at cornerback from Coastal Carolina. I believe his name is McDoom, which sounds like a McDonald's menu item for people with a really bad outlook on life. But anyway.
Or like a villain, the McDonald's version.
Yeah,
of
the Hamburglar.
Villain.
Like the Hamburglar isn't bad. It's not. He's not testing well. He doesn't seem evil enough. We're now bringing in the new villain, McDoom. Right? It was like when G.I. Joe had to bring in both Destro and Cobra because Cobra wasn't bad enough, and Destro needed to be a little scarier. I think a little less. Anyway. A few people out there know what I'm talking about. John probably does.
I definitely know what you're talking about.
I'm not quite old enough.
Real quick, here it to me is the biggest sign on what kind of a challenge Cincinnati is going to pose. I think you'll be able to tell fairly early, and you'll be able to tell when Nebraska's offense on the field. If Nebraska has some real success with gash runs, repeated gash runs, that's what Cincinnati struggled with last year, getting pushed around. And as John mentioned, the defensive personnel has changed. Corleone's healthier now than he was, and he's going to be more of a factor. But if Nebraska can start to run on this team, that is going to bode, I think, really well for how this game goes long term. If you start to see some of those Emmett Johnson chunk runs, if Dylan gets out there and runs a little bit, that to me is going to be the first indication that, okay, this is hopefully going to be a matchup here that Nebraska can exploit a little bit more and have some physical dominance on offense. We'll see if that actually happens. And then John will be getting his helmet sticker ready right away.
Yep.
Or Uncle Don's boys. There we go. Moving on.
Number 2.
As John pointed out on his show this week, this was an interesting stat, John. I did not know about this. Nebraska hasn't won an opener against a power conference team since when? Oklahoma State, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2003?
Yes.
Yes.
The Barrett Reed fumble return,
Jeez.
the Husker Nation game
Oh
when
my
all the
gosh,
players
that's
were
right.
back. Steve
Bo's
Buse-
first game as defensive coordinator.
Yep.
Wow. My last year of law school, my last year I had season tickets to Nebraska football,
Oh.
actually. So that was the last time that Nebraska won a season opener against a Power 5 team. Here's some other stats, guys. Nebraska has lost 4 of its last 5 openers in general, and it's only won its first game of the season that's been held outside of Lincoln once since 2017.
Boy.
What do the next few weeks look like and feel like, John, if Nebraska can just in any way pick up a win in a game like this, which, let's be honest, we expect them to, but they haven't really done it over the course of the last few years very often.
And this is the important thing, because I think there's a lot of people that, quite honestly, unfortunately, we do tend to look at the name on the front of the uniform and we think, oh, this should be an easy game. But we found out over the last few years there is no such thing. So don't get caught up in optics if Nebraska wins an uglier game or maybe it's closer than you expect it to be, because in these spots, Nebraska has not been particularly good. So tonight is about just taking that first step and getting the season off to a good start. And I would also caution folks, don't overreact either positive or negative to this first game, because honestly, we don't know what kind of a team Cincinnati is going to end up being. And we know that there are a lot of big, tougher games down the stretch or down the road for NU. So, take this in. I think Nebraska wins tonight, but I wouldn't get too caught up, especially in a first game, with necessarily how it looks. There are certain areas I think Dylan should play well tonight. But if there are some other things that maybe have some rough edges, that's going to be natural. That's going to happen. Because think about last year. How many of us came out of that UTEP game thinking that the sky was the limit for this team, and we all know what happened. So be careful what you wish for tonight. Just go out there and hope that you get a good win. Don't be worried about the
Build on that, John. As I said, I went into the first half of the Illinois game making big conclusions. I mean, that was 3.5 games that ended up being not right about the season. Nate?
Yeah, I think it's important to be careful with what you take from game one. Stuff happens. There will be communicate. As hard as I think this team has worked to smooth out the coordinator transitions, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I carry a little worry about how this team communicates, especially early, but you feel like they'll be able to iron that out as the year goes on. But it's just a big challenge to have to come out of the box and beat a team that is of likability. And you think about it, Nebraska went 35 years winning their opener or something like that, and you could just count on 1-0. And starting with the BYU Hail Mary, it's been a hit or miss proposition in starting a season, and so I hope, even if it's an ugly win, you're 1-0. You're 17% of the way to bowl eligibility. Take that, embrace it. But, if this thing is a Husker blowout, don't start booking your national championship game tickets.
The good news, and I appreciate the advice, guys, but no one ever overreacts. So I don't know what kind of straw man situation you're setting up here, but it feels superfluous.
Number 1.
Last and most importantly, percentage chances. Will Taylor Swift be in the stadium tonight? John Bishop, your thoughts?
I'm going to steal from my own show. We have a segment every week we call I Don't Care.
There it is. There it is. Thanks for doing exactly what I wanted you to.
I'm your dog. Just tell me what tricks to do.
All right, Nate. Percentage chance Taylor Swift is there tonight.
I'm going to say 30%. She says she is becoming more interested in football. It's a good chance for her and Travis to hang out, but I can't imagine a whole lot of urgency on her part to make her way in for a college game between a team that was in the Pinstripe Bowl against a team that didn't even make a bowl game last
65% chance Travis is going to be there. They're together right now, most likely. they've got to make one kind of public appearance after they've been engaged, and he starts his season in like Brazil in a few days. It's got to be now.
I think we're missing the bigger picture here, especially for those of you in the audience who are big Chiefs fans. Are we going to start a rift within the Chiefs organization between two of its premier players?
That's
Remember,
a good question.
Patrick Mahomes, and we all know Uncle Cuzzo, or whatever that nickname was that they had for him last year. Dylan and Patrick, they're a thing. We know that Travis is rooting for Cincinnati. Who's to say that we might not have an Avery Johnson family feud going on here after the game between Travis and Patrick?
Over under on is Patrick going to be wearing Husker gear? Will Patrick wear Husker gear?
I'm going to say 40% chance he wears a red Adidas shirt, but no N on it.
He'll wear red. Well, everybody. It's nice because every team involved is red. So that's not all that helpful. We'll see.
And Cincinnati, what are you doing trying to confuse people with that all red get up? Oh my God!
And then the song, the Sheryl Crow song from Cars, and their pump up video with the weirdest script I've ever heard. Yeah, they need some work. All right, we'll take a break. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. 7:53, Friday Husker Tailgate Thursday edition on 1499.3 and all our social media, KLIN.
When you're sometimes say welcome back to the Friday Husker Tailgate on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
A lot of time on our draft, so just a real quick menu here for the games this weekend. This is when we look at the Big Ten schedule this weekend. There's actually a bunch of them even tonight. Ohio at Rutgers, Buffalo at Minnesota, Miami, Ohio at Wisconsin. See any upsets there, guys? Ohio, maybe?
Minnesota usually struggles in these first week games, so that might be one. Ohio at Rutgers, that could be another one.
Friday, Western Michigan at Michigan State, Western Illinois at Illinois, and then the full slate on Saturday of Big Ten games. Northwestern at Tulane. Watch that one. I think Tulane will probably be favored in that.
Yep.
Definitely the game of that 11 o'clock window.
Texas at Ohio State. Yeah, that one not so much. Ball State at Purdue, Florida Atlantic at Maryland, Old Dominion at Indiana, Nevada at Penn State, Montana State at Oregon, Albany at Iowa, New Mexico at Michigan, Missouri State at USC, Utah at UCLA. That's a
good late night game.
10 p.m. kick Central Time. Also, Colorado State at Washington could be mildly interesting as well for you night owls there. And I believe Scott Frost plays tonight as well as a coach of Central Florida. Am I right on that, guys?
Yes, you are.
All right. There you go. That is your menu of Big Ten games for this weekend. A full slate of college football, and doesn't it sound nice? All right, we're going to take a break. Coming up, get caught up with our sponsors, and then coming up, Kevin Suits from 1011. He joins us. John takes us back to openers over the years, and I do a deep dive on the University of Cincinnati, what they're going to look like on and off the field. That's all coming up Friday Husker Tailgate on KLIN.
Swings and hammers this one. Deep left field. It is gone.
Think 1499.3 KLIN.
Paid for by term provider.
Dowdell's the back. Dillon goes shotgun. Huskers line up quickly. Turn, snap. Hand it off to Dowdell. Leap for the goal line. He's in. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Here we go. Who do you think you're fooling? Nobody's thinking about their job the day before a Husker game.
Being flushed out of the pocket, rolling downfield, looking, throws. Pass intercepted. Picked off by the Huskers at the 27-yard line. Marquise Buford with an INT. Huskers will take over at their own 27-yard line. Kick sailing is blocked at the line of scrimmage. Huskers blocked the kick. Keep the 0 on the board. It was Ty Robinson up in the air to knock it down.
This is the Friday Husker Tailgate with Jack Mitchell, Nate Rohr, John Bishop, and Kevin Suits. Do you know you, but we can't guarantee you'll get along. It's the Friday Husker Tailgate Opposition Disposition on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
It's the hour of the Friday Husker Tailgate on a Thursday on 1499.3 KLIN.
And now it's official. The season has begun because we have got the first Nate Rohr lung capacity test out of the way. Good morning and welcome to the Friday Husker Tailgate Thursday edition. That is Nate Rohr, not only the sports director here at KLIN, but also the PA voice of Memorial Stadium, who you will hear doing that next Saturday. We've got John Bishop with us, still from Kansas City, and the real world house from 1620 The Zone. What happens when 7 coworkers pick to live in a house and things stop getting nice and start getting real? And then we've got Kevin Suits now in studio with us, 1011 sports director. Kevin, welcome into the excitement that is Friday Husker Tailgate.
Yeah, we made it. Wow.
It's great.
Off season's done.
It's great. Glad to have all of you with us, listening on KLIN or KLIN.com or the app, or checking us out on video today. You can see us all either on our Facebook pages for KLIN, LNK Today, KLIN YouTube, and KLIN Twitter /X, or my Twitter X feed if you would like to check us out there. So we got like kind of a Brady Bunch thing going on the screen with all 4 of us. Now, guys, let's do Kevin's earlier today, and this is awesome because you get be a part of Opposition Disposition, Kevin. And so this is great. We like to talk about the opponent that's coming up on the field, but first we like to talk about sort of if there's a historic connection to the opponent or even in the situation where the game is happening. And guys, Nebraska has 1 game against Cincinnati.
You going to take us back to 1906?
Did you guys read some of the old newspaper articles that were posted about this?
Incredible.
They were hilarious. I should have pulled those up and read those. I will do that here in just a second. But since there's not much of a history and John couldn't find any YouTube clips of those games to bring us today, John, we're going to take a look back at, I guess, early season games. Is that what this is? Or Arrowhead games, correct?
Well, the first one, this is the 5th time that Nebraska will open a season in a neutral site. The very first time happened back in 1983 in the inaugural Kickoff Classic. We call this the revenge game. Jack, I went down a very nasty, awful, dark, disgusting rabbit hole the other day on YouTube. The 1982 Penn State game came up on my feed, and I just, I needed to feel something. I needed to get, really angry, really mad about something. So yeah, I fast forwarded to the end of that game and the catch that was out of bounds and the touchdown that was trapped to put myself in the right mindset, because the next year, Penn State defending national champs, Nebraska getting a chance for revenge. So they played in Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and Nebraska absolutely kicked the ever-loving crap out of Penn State.
Yes.
And the defense got a score in this one. Nate, do we have that clip?
I've got it right here for you.
Got it.
Penn State wanting to throw, and it was intercepted beautifully. It's going to be a touchdown. Mike Knox took it away and intercepted it. He ran as he took it away from Tony Mumford, the fullback, big Mike Knox from Castle Rock, Colorado, and the players are mobbing him, and the assistant coaches, the players grabbed him and slapped him on the back of the end zone. because the black shirts like to stick one in there themselves once in a while. And Mike Knox, sure enough, did it. And the coaching staff in the booth next to us, who are up here in the press box, were banging on the windows and really tearing things up.
There we go.
The only thing that sucked about this game, Jack, was it was on a Monday night at the end of August. So this was kind of the original week 0 because this happened before, most teams kicked off the season. It was on a school night. So, you're sitting here, you're watching, and then you had to go to bed early and you had to get up in the morning. It's like, it was terrible. But it started, of course, the scoring explosion. Nebraska won 44-6, and they were off and running in a very memorable 1983 season.
And who was sitting in the stands, sitting and sobbing perhaps after the Mike Knox interception?
Matt Rule.
The current head football coach at the University of Nebraska, Matt Rule.
Yes,
exactly.
He said this was his first game that he went with his dad, and didn't go too well then, and now he's the coach of the other team. All right, so then we fast forward to 1998. Now, this is a year I remember, John. This was a very good year for me. What do we have from 1998?
Well, of course, this is the third time Nebraska will play in Arrowhead Stadium. The first time Oklahoma State gave up a home game to come up to Kansas City and host Nebraska. Now, as we all know, and we're going to experience tonight, even though Nebraska was wearing the road colors, they were definitely not the road team in terms of the fans. But Oklahoma State had a special surprise for Nebraska. And this was a tight game into the fourth quarter. Nebraska blew a 2-score lead until Joe Walker broke things open with a special teams play.
A low spiral Walker at the 27. Up the middle, look out. One man to beat. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Joe Walker with the punt return gave Nebraska the lead, but Oklahoma State would get the ball at the end of the game. They would drive down the field. They'd convert a big fourth down. And so with just a couple of seconds left in the game, they had one play to win it, or at least to tie it from the 1-yard line.
Now, what's got to happen here is both coaching staffs have got to be thinking a play ahead. If Oklahoma State does score, you go for 2.
They only have 3 seconds to snap the ball. For the win. No, Nebraska stuffs them.
Mike Rucker made the game-saving tackle. Nebraska survived 24-17. Now, I got a trivia question for you. The reason why this game was close was because Oklahoma State came out with a radical new defense. Actually, it wasn't a new defense. It was an old defense. Do you know what famous defensive mind helped concoct the game plan that befuddled Nebraska and almost sprung the upset?
I don't remember, though. Buddy Ryan?
Rex Ryan.
It was Buddy Ryan. It was Buddy Ryan. So Rex was on the coaching staff, and they were prepping. They were prepping for the game, and Buddy happened to be there, and Buddy suggested something that TCU ran back in the 40s. And they mocked it up. They ended up running about 40% of their sets out of this. They called it a 6-2, and it worked. I mean, Nebraska only had 3 points at halftime. They finally figured it out in the second half. But it was Buddy Ryan who suggested it, and then his son put it into play, and it almost worked.
Wow.
I've got a trivia question on this one. And I think I've told you this before, Jack, but so Oklahoma State sold this game to the Chiefs. Do you know what they did with the proceeds from the 98 Nebraska-Oklahoma State game?
I think you have told me, but I don't remember. I obviously wasn't listening very well.
Yeah. They built their softball stadium with the money gained from the Nebraska-Oklahoma State game in 98.
That's T-Boon's job.
No, T-Boon wasn't throwing in money. Oklahoma State, for what it's worth, I think it's going to get a new stadium soon, so I won't be able to.
I thought you were going to say they built a new Eskimo Joe's.
No, sadly.
I thought it was that they just ordered a bunch of chili cheese fries from Eskimo Joe's.
No, but they used the money that they got from the Nebraska-Oklahoma State game in 98 to build the softball stadium, which they play in now.
Now, I've got a trivia question. Yeah. What important moment in my life happened the evening prior to this game?
Was this the infamous trip to Applebee's?
Yes.
It was.
Your first
my
date, right?
first date with my wife was the Friday night before this in Sioux City, Iowa, where I drove her 45 miles from Orange City to take her out to Applebee's. And then we drove back, and that was the date.
So this game has a special place in your heart?
Yeah. And then I thought we weren't ever going to go on a date again. A few weeks passed. Not much happened. And then we did go out on a date again. And anyway, now we have 2 kids, and we've been married 24 years.
Oh.
Anyhow, yes. So this whole the fall of '98.
But isn't it so true? You can always associate like big life events to the sporting events that happen all around.
Yes.
I thank goodness for that, because it helps me remember
years,
all kinds of things, because I remember years of football seasons better than I remember years of events.
Yep.
And so I just have to go through and I think, oh, well, I was at that wedding when Nebraska lost to Penn State at Happy Valley. I know that was 2002. So these people were married in 2002, right?
I think every man listening just nodded in agreement. I remember years of football seasons better than I remember years of life. That is
so true.
But it's a good tool. I mean, it's a good tool for all of us to remember these important. And I always have to remind my wife is when it is anyway, so I'm probably the more sentimental one about that. The next day, by the way, was in Sioux Falls at a TGI Fridays. We had to drive 90 miles to, and we then watched the movie Simon Birch, which is wildly depressing and not a great day. It's amazing that it worked in retrospect.
So where would the Bennigan's? Because you already knocked out Applebee's, TGI Fridays. Like, there's got to be a Bennigan's.
I believe there was a Bennigan's. There was another place in the Sioux City Mall that we hit. I'm sure we had a chill.
Carlos O'Kelly's.
People make fun of me for this. But in 1998, and Kevin, you know this, John, you know this, Nate, you probably know this too. That was the top of what you could do on a weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is go to those places, right? It was a big deal. There weren't.
Then you walked around the mall afterwards too?
Yep.
Or beforehand?
The Empire Mall. We went to the TGI Fridays outside of the Empire Mall. It's been torn down now. I think that Applebee's is still standing in Sioux City, thank goodness. We need to go back sometime. But then walked around inside the Empire Mall, right? Checked out all the Gadzooks, the B. Dalton bookstore.
Got something inappropriate at Spencer's Gifts.
Yeah. In any case, guys, let's talk about Cincinnati notable alums. I'm not sure if you guys have heard this, but Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. We usually don't do football players for notable alums, but I feel like they've crossed the pop culture threshold now. That's probably more fair to say. So obviously the Kelces, but I thought maybe Cincinnati. Sometimes we have these schools that have very underwhelming notable alums when we go through this. No offense to them. Like Cincinnati starts out pretty high. George Clooney went to Cincinnati.
Oh, yes.
Really?
You know this? George Clooney.
His dad was like a columnist in Cincinnati for a long, long time.
So George Clooney. Now, I don't know if these guys all got diplomas, but they at least attended Cincinnati at some point. One of the stars of John's, I think this is one of your favorite all-time television shows. She was a star of Sarah Jessica Parker, famous for the Sex and the City series, which I know John really liked to set his VCR for back in the day.
Yeah. Definitely didn't fall asleep watching the movie either.
I've never seen one person be so mad he had to go to a single movie when John's wife told him they were going to that movie when it first came out. Then William Howard Taft. Hey, they got a former president.
Yeah, good
there
for
at
them.
Cincinnati too. So they start out pretty good. Urban Meyer, Cincinnati guy.
Yes.
How did he never coach there as a head coach? Sandy Koufax.
That's right.
Nipsey Russell, a Cincinnati guy. Tennessee Ernie Ford, Cincinnati. And then this one, maybe I should have known this. I don't know that I did. Did you guys know Lamar Hunt Jr. went to Cincinnati?
Oh, I did.
Wow, what a tie-in.
No,
Yeah.
I wondered if that played into any of this. I had no idea about that till just this morning when I was doing some research.
Yeah, I didn't realize that because like Lamar and I think Clark and big chunk of the family all went to SMU.
Yeah.
So surprising you went.
Yeah, they made their money in Texas.
Yeah.
That is a surprising list,
money.
because honestly, this is some of my fascination with this whole segment, Jack, was beyond the Kelce guys. Who do you got?
Right.
Yeah.
And
now I'm feeling like, wow, they've actually got a little cachet.
Pretty decent ones.
Not
They have
bad.
a few pretty decent ones. So that's all. Those are the only people who matter that went there. But they do have a few of them for sure. Now, a couple of other quick things to get to before we talk about the modern day Cincinnati team. Number one, this is the Bearcats. Yes. Did you guys wonder about, first of all, what is a Bearcat, right?
Yes.
Is it a half bear, half cat? Is this what we're talking about? No, it is not. It is also known as a binturong. Binturong?
Oh, yes.
Yes, a binturong.
Okay.
It's a vivarid native to South and Southeast Asia. So obviously in Cincinnati's area, kind of. Native to South and Southeast Asia. Uncommon in much of its range. It's a common name in Borneo, and it's related to a Western Malayo-Polynesian root maturin. In any case, whatever.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That was a collection of words.
It looks like a combination of I don't know, what would you say here, Kevin? A cat and a squirrel and a raccoon,
yeah.
maybe.
Can you spell binturong?
Yes, Binturong.
Because when you first said binturong, I had like a flashback to the script spelling bee.
Yes.
Can you spell that? Can I get the word, like the origin of the word?
Yeah, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing animal. I don't know if it's that like tough exactly. I don't know what's cool about it. It feeds on small animals like birds and fish. In any case, that's the mascot. And you wonder how
does look like it could do some damage though. If you look at its face, a few of those pictures, like if that thing pops out of the wilderness and is staring at you in the face, you're probably not comfortable.
I suppose they look kind of big.
And there are some mascots and nicknames of teams across athletics that you're like, they must be nice and friendly. This isn't nice and friendly.
But the thing is, the mascot has nothing to do with the animal, or didn't originally. And why would it? It's just the Southeast Asian animal that didn't exist at that time in the United States outside of captivity. But during a 1914 football game between Cincinnati and Kentucky, which was probably a decent rivalry back then, a chant was created to honor Cincinnati star player Leonard K. Baer, Baehr. He was known as Teddy Bear. The chant went, "They may be wildcats, but we have a bear cat on our side." With players' heightened spirits, the new battle cry worked, and UC won that day. The chant was repeated in a cartoon by John Patty Reese, published in UC's independent student-run newspaper, The News Record. The cartoon shows a wildcat being chased by an animal dubbed Cincinnati Bearcats. It wasn't until 1922 the first logo of the Bearcat appeared in an institutional logo. It was clearly depicted as an actual snarling grizzly bear, not a binturong whatsoever. Started appearing less as a lifelike animal after World War II, depicting a cartoonish growling bear with long claws and whiskers. Started showing up on decals, posters, and promotional materials. Cincinnati also has a live mascot who lives at the Cincinnati Zoo named Lucille. She took over for longtime Bearcat ambassador Lucy in 2019 when Lucy retired from campus life due to her age and health. She died in 2021. R.I.P. Lucy the Binturong. There you go. What a weird mascot story. I mean, they all came from these 1920s
Bearcats
writers.
should really be spelled Baehr.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really has nothing to do with the animal. They've used more of a bear as their real mascot for much of the years. And it's kind of a takeoff of Kentucky is what it is.
Yeah, kind of strange that they borrowed from their rival like that.
Yeah.
I guess we did.
Now, do I have to ask the question here, because it's in the cat family? We know that at Kansas State, at Penn State, anytime something positive happens, will they play that annoying sound in the stadium? And tonight, of course, is technically a Cincinnati home game. Are we going to hear?
I will lose my mind. First down, Bearcats. I hate that so much.
Yeah. I just be prepared just in case.
Yeah, might want to bring your.
But of the cat teams, like it's at its worst when it's Penn State.
Yeah,
Kansas State, don't sleep on how bad it is. I
just feel like even on television, when you watch a Penn State game, it just like audibly pierces through your speaker from a
you got a good point.
It's hard to ignore it.
So there you go. But Kevin, I'll ask you this because we've already talked a decent amount about Cincinnati. How good of a feel do you have on kind of who this team is, what kind of competition this is tonight for Nebraska? I think it's a little difficult, even though they have the same coach, same quarterback as they had last year.
Yeah, but I mean, it's different now, 2025, because of the influence of the transfer portal. You don't even know who's going to be on the field for them. Of course, they have a depth chart out. They've got a quarterback that'll run it. They have a really good defensive lineman up front. Outside of that, I don't know that we know a whole lot about this team. And plus, like, this is a pretty low profile team. Yeah. Even though there was talk this week of it's different when you open with a Power 4 opponent. Yeah, they're Power 4, but Cincinnati is, not prominent in college football. And Cincinnati, it plays in the. Some people don't even realize they're in the Big 12. They seem still like an American conference team. And it's. I don't know. I feel like maybe shame on us for not giving Cincinnati as much thought as we probably should have in the offseason.
It's hard with all the transfers. We talked plenty about Sorsby, who we know about, right? I mean, I think he's been the focus of the discussion. I mean, Corleone on the defensive line, you mentioned
Corleone's, I think, the bigger issue.
And he's been hurt. But you're right, too. And John pointed this out, too. Like, there's the wide receiver, all our transfers in, right? Tawee Walker, we saw at Wisconsin. He's one of the two running backs that's going to get carried.
So with the different players that they have, it's kind of a mishmash in terms of who's going to be on the field tonight for Cincinnati. So Dane Key was even talking this week about how, to prepare to play against these guys, you've got to watch their players not just on one game film. You've got to watch cornerback 1 when he was playing at, Texas A&M. Yes. Then you got to watch cornerback number 2 when he was playing at an FCS school. And so, like, you're watching multiple players at multiple levels, and it's just really kind of it's a grind.
The film operations must be so much more complex.
Very, very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, you've got like the Synergy and all these different companies that you can have. You can download all this film. James Franklin talked about it earlier this week. Preparing for these games with teams with 30, 40, 50 transfers can be very difficult. So fortunately, these teams have had a lot of offseason. I think it's going to boil down to the team that is most within itself, right? Just do the things that you're capable of doing, because sometimes you can over scout, right? You can overthink things. So just go and be the best version of yourself, and usually things will take care of itself after that.
I'll share this too. Matt Rule was saying at the end of his press conference, his final time talking to the media on Wednesday ahead of this game was, it's the season opener and there's an element of unpredictability because despite the personnel, Cincinnati could roll out their game 1 and do something that is nowhere on film.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm. And this coaching staff, I think, is pretty aware of it. And then I'll give a shout out to Evan Bland of the Omaha World-Herald, because immediately after that quote in the press conference was done, he and I started talking, and he took us back to when Nebraska opened the season against Illinois in the Scott Frost era. And if you remember, Nebraska lost that game. And Frost and the coaching staff talked about how Illinois came up and showed a 3-man front. And they hadn't trained for that the entire preseason. So it really came down to adjustments, and Nebraska didn't probably do the best job adjusting, knowing that Illinois was doing something that they were not prepared for. And there's a lot of confusion on Nebraska's end. So Evan took me back to that moment, and that could be a task for this coaching staff tonight if Cincinnati were to make do something that they haven't prepared for. So now it's down to coaching and making the adjustment. Oftentimes, like John mentioned, these games, these season opening games, it comes down to the better team, frankly.
Full circle here on this segment, from Buddy Ryan changing defenses to Illinois changing defenses in the opener. By the way, last thing before we go to break, Nate, I think you know the answer to this because I told it. Here's a trivia question for you. Who is the last quarterback for that Cincinnati beat? The last time they won a game, who was a quarterback of the team that they beat? And I will give you this clue too. It was a top 10 team last year. Anyone? The team was Arizona State. And the quarterback in that game, Jeff Sims. Wow. Jeff Sims. That was the last win of the year last year against an Arizona State team that went into the college football playoff
and almost beat Texas.
Texas.
All right, 8:32, we'll take a break. We'll do our roundtable. What would be the best indicator for success this year that we could see tonight? I'm going to ask the roundtable that coming up next. You're listening to the Friday Husker Tailgate Thursday edition. Live from Lincoln, live from Kansas City on KLIN.
the Friday Husker Tailgate on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
All right, welcome back. The team's together. Kevin Stutz, 1011 Sports Director John Bishop, 1620 The Zone out in Kansas City. Nate Rohr right here in Lincoln with Kevin and I. And, of course, me, I'm Jack Mitchell. Welcome back to the Friday Husker Tailgate Game Day edition. We don't often get to do one of these on game day, but we'll have a couple opportunities during the course of this year. We do have the picks coming up in 15 minutes, and I did tabulate, well, Nate did tabulate the results for last year, so we will update, unfortunately, on what happened at the end of last year after the bowl games. Everyone's been waiting with bated breath through the entire winter, spring, and summer to find out what happened. I've had many people stop me on the streets and ask me who ended up winning that. I want to put a question to kind of the whole table here, and Kevin, will start with you on this one. My question for all of you is, obviously the thing that is going to bode most well for Nebraska is a big win against Cincinnati. But I'm curious, if we go beyond just the result, are there specific things, and what are those specific things that you think you could see tonight that would make you most bullish on Nebraska going forward into the season?
I love the question, because you're kind of stripping it away from like the final result. What specifically within the game can give you higher confidence about where Nebraska could go in 2025? And I'm going to answer with Dylan Raiola's completion percentage, and to put a number on it, over 70%. And I think that could start at the beginning. I'd love to see Nebraska open up the season offensively with the drive where Dylan goes 6 for 6, marches them down the field, and it results in points. I say Raiola's completion percentage because that would indicate offensive efficiency. And if there's a high completion percentage, that means that you're more than likely staying on schedule and you're not turning the football over. If he could finish today, let's say 14 of 16, I think that is reasonable. And it sounds like he has made really good choices during fall camp and in all the Cincinnati prep. It sounds like he's learning to check the ball down, because that's what Dana Holgorsen has preached over the summer months, is just make the simple play. And if you have a high completion percentage, that means you're making the simple play.
Yeah. Nate?
Yeah, I like Kevin's a lot. I'll go on the defensive side. No big plays, no busts, because one of my big worries about where this team is right now is how well will they communicate on defense and know what they're supposed to do and have the call and be in the right spot. And if you're able to limit big plays, especially tonight against a mobile quarterback, I think that's a good sign moving forward. So if they're able to limit the big plays, that tells me the defense has settled into John Butler's scheme. The communication's going well. The inter-defense communication on the staff, the defensive line coach, Terry Braden, in his first game. Addison Williams, defensive backs coach, his first game. So if they're able to stop big plays, not give up any ideally, but only one or two, I'll feel good about the defense.
John?
I'm going to keep hammering this run defense thing home, because that's the biggest concern that I have on this year's team. This is a Cincinnati team. We talked about what do we know about this team? Well, one thing we should know about Scott Satterfield, their head coach, is he loves the run of the football. This is a team that averaged 183 yards on the ground last year and over 5 yards a carry. So if I'm going to put a number to it, I would say if Nebraska could hold Cincinnati to under 150 yards rushing, I think that would be a good early sign, because then that puts a little more pressure on Sorsby to have to work with those brand new wide receivers to generate some offense. I agree with Nate. Holding out the big play would be huge tonight, especially in the run game. But if they can hold Cincinnati to under 150 yards, I think that would be huge. And then another number to watch on defense, havoc rate. We're talking about the havoc plays like tackles for loss and turnover creation, things like that. Nebraska lost 4 of their 6 games last year when their havoc rate was under 20%. So make sure that's north of 20% as well tonight. Get some negative plays, put them behind the chains.
150, that's a huge number, John.
It is a huge number, but I mean, again, this is Cincinnati. They're probably looking, I'm guessing their goal tonight is to get north of north of 200. So, I think it's fairly reasonable. I think last year I was looking at the game log. They were only held under 150 yards like three or four times last year. Wow. So they're going to get theirs. So, I mean, you can keep it reasonable tonight. But I think if definitely under 150, I think they would be in good shape.
And that's attacking one of Nebraska's quote unquote weaker spots, the defensive line. I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, and the run game for Cincinnati too is going to be a lot of quarterback run as well. And that'll be a big part of it. Sorsby last year was their second leading rusher for the year and had more touchdowns than anybody on the ground.
I like what John said about havoc rate too. If Nebraska is able to create some havoc defensively, because it seems to me, and maybe this is being a big guy prejudice, but havoc seems to really be predicated on how your defensive lines play. Because if you're getting tackles for loss, if you're getting sacks, at the very least, your defensive line is drawing attention. And maybe they're the guys making the plays themselves. So if Nebraska's havoc rate is high, that means the defensive line's playing well. And again, that would address one of the worries that you have about this team.
Well, I think on a more micro level, the worst thing that could happen for Nebraska is if Sorsby gets comfortable in this game. I think he's got enough experience, enough athleticism to run. And if that opens up for him, that's a ticket to a bad place in this game. They've got to be in his head, and they've got to be giving him some pressure. Otherwise, he can hurt them running the ball, especially.
And by the way, Jack, that number is 3. 3 times last year, Cincinnati was held to under 150 yards. So,
wow.
I think that's a reasonable goal tonight.
Yeah, even in those losses, in those losses they had, he was picking up big chunks too, especially at the end of the year. He was a huge part of their offense. I'll go the other running game on mine. Boy, if Emmett Johnson ends up with 100 or more yards rushing in this game, I am going to feel very good about multiple things. I think it will indicate what we're hoping about the offensive line, which we haven't really talked about a lot today, but obviously that'll be a part of it. And I think it'll also, vindicate some of this real commitment to Emmett Johnson at the running back position that I think we're going to get today. He's done it in terms of yards per carry, but just looking at his he's got some weird stats over the years, and it's because he hasn't been used all that much in some ways. Like 2023, he only had 90 attempts rushing the ball in 2023, but he got 4.6 yards per attempt. He had 117 attempts last year for 598 yards, 5.1 yards per carry. Like, that's a good average. Yet on the other hand, he doesn't have. I don't have his long his long runs in front of me. His longest that he's had, they're not that long. They're not. I don't know that he's got one over 40 yards.
No,
he'll catch the ball though too.
He'll catch the ball as well.
You got to also factor that
for sure. But who would believe that he's got 3 career rushing touchdowns?
Yeah,
and this is the guy, right? And this isn't used as a critique of him. It's kind of about the way he's been used, right? Because you had a goal line back in Dante Dowdell. You used him out of the backfield as well. And so he didn't have the volume of rushing attempts because of that as well. But when he has had the chance, he's been consistent but not spectacular. Good and consistent but not spectacular.
So for the E-Money nickname and, the public presence of Emmett Johnson and the faith in which he has allowed the fan base to get behind him, it's interesting because the numbers really don't support a guy that's would be out in front of an offense that should be taking the next step.
No, it's just it showed solid, consistent good in small amounts. Right. Essentially, is what it's been, but never spectacular. And then the receiving yards. I mean, you mentioned that, Kevin. 2023 only had 7 receptions. Now, last year he had 39 receptions for 286 yards, 7 yards per reception, and did have 2 touchdowns receiving. But this guy has 5 total touchdowns in his career, which I think people would be surprised to even hear.
Beyond all the numbers, you should go off of this, though. And we don't mean to be skeptical of Emmett Johnson and his production. We're just saying that the numbers don't really support.
I just want to see what happens when he's used as the primary back. Is all I'm saying.
That's what I'm going to say is, remember, there was a time Emmett Johnson was in the transfer portal.
Yes.
And he was going to explore his options. And Dana Holgerson had a lot of conversations with him about coming back.
Yeah.
Because Dana knows his value.
Sure. Right.
And Dana only spent 4 games calling the plays at Nebraska last year, but I think he truly knows that his offense can only be what he wants it to be with an explosive running back.
Right.
And he sees that in Emmett Johnson. So I'll throw away every number that you just ripped up, like the attempts, the average, which over 5 is pretty good on the ground, because I think that just hearing the offensive coordinator saying, I need you, please come back.
Yeah.
That's enough for me to believe that he's a very important part of what they're going to do offensively.
And he doesn't seem like a guy that was on the verge of leaving. I mean, he's been Dylan's, wingman the entire, whether he's going to a high school basketball game or Jazz in June or the farmer's market. There's Dylan, there's Emmett, there's Dylan, there's Emmett, but he's been kind of out front face of the program to some degree.
Imagine what our conversation, guys, would be like if he did not come back.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a running back room that, there's a lot of questions about. And one of the other questions I have, especially early in the season, we've seen E.J. Barthel be pretty aggressive with his running back rotations. How much does that change given that you've got a transfer wide receiver or a transformed receiver turned running back as one of your two backups? And then Mekhi Nelson. I mean, there's two guys that don't have a lot of experience running the football.
Has to. I feel like it has to. You've got to give him. You got to give him
he's got to be your bell
lion's share.
I mean, you were talking about how little he's been used. That changed when Dana Holgorsen took over as offensive coordinator, and he really he was the bell cow back by the end of last year in terms of the attempts. One other thought on Johnson. Seems to me he's always been kind of a tweener. He's not so small that he's ridiculously fast and nor so big to where he's getting a lot of that run between the tackles. Well, now he's bulked up a little bit to where maybe he can be more of a short yardage force. I mean, he's not Dante Dowdell, right? But he can at least be a better candidate to run it in from the 3.
I think the running back situation would be a little different going into the season opener if Quentin Ives didn't get hurt during fall camp, because I think he's really in line to be the number 2 running back.
Yeah.
And when Ives missed a couple of weeks, then the conversation really intensified about Isaiah Mosey and him being at that spot. And then Connor Booth's name even was thrown around a little bit. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't know if he's even going to travel. But the running back situation right now, Mekhi Nelson and Mosey, they are number 2 backs.
They're similar size, style to Emmett Johnson, too. Real quick to finish this off, to Nate's point, Emmett Johnson going into the USC game last year had 1 double-digit carries game. Wow. That was against Rutgers. He was double-digit carries every game the rest of the year during the Dana Holgorsen era. So there you go. Might be a harbinger of things to come today. Coming up next, the picks. What ended up happening last year, and who's pulling upsets this week, and what happens with Nebraska and Cincinnati. We're going to tell you what we think next. Friday Husker Tailgate, KLIN.
Bragging rights means everything to these guys. Let the trash talk begin. It's time to call your shot in the Friday Husker Tailgate Pigskin Picks of the Week. Presented by Exchange Bank on Lincoln's Husker Radio. 3 KLIN.
All right, it is time, and I guess congratulations to John Bishop, the 2024 Picks champion. He had to wait for 8 months. He did end up hanging on against me. Actually did pretty well because he got some of those bowl games there at the very end. I actually have the old standings up, and Nate Bishop ended up doing well on those last ones.
Yeah,
and,
the bowl games.
He got an upset in there too. Were there any other notable bowl notes there from that? Probably not. Nobody cares anymore. All right, so there you go. Bishop first last year. I was second, and Kevin and Nate actually tied for third.
Yes.
So there you go. We'll see how it goes this year. And so we will go in last year's order to make the picks. And this week's picks, I have the wrong ones up here. And so I've got to find it. If Nate or any of you guys have them listed, I forgot to copy the right thing.
I believe our Georgia Tech, Colorado is our first pick.
So
All right, Georgia Tech, Colorado. So Bishop, you'll go first. I'll go second. And then we'll go Kevin, Nate after that. So Georgia Tech, Colorado. John?
CU, the first post-Travis Hunter, post-Shedeur Sanders era. Georgia Tech is a sleeper pick in the ACC. Give me the Ramblin' Wreck.
Oh, baby. Yes. Georgia Tech. By the way, are they settling the 1990 National Championship that they split when Nebraska played both of them?
Correct.
Lost to both of them. I'm going Georgia Tech also, Kevin.
Georgia Tech. Their coach got fired up this preseason.
Yeah. He's the polar opposite of Deion Sanders. That's one of the fascinating things about this game.
Yes. The Ramblin' Wreck, because their wreck is rambling and Ralphie isn't even running anymore.
All right. Wow. I did not expect that, but maybe I should have. All right. Whole way through. Game of the week. Texas and Ohio State. Guys, what do you like on this one? John?
I think Texas could win this game by 2 scores. I like Texas this year. Ohio State, new pieces coming in and perhaps championship hangover. I'm going to say hook 'em, but the horns are down.
I am going to say, I'm going to go Ohio State. Best individual offensive player, maybe best individual defensive player in the country, both sides of the ball. I'll go with Ohio State.
Home
Kevin.
team. I'm going to take home team. And I like your Jeremiah Smith is awesome. So I don't. It's a great game. That's a great season opening game. I'm going to go Ohio State.
Yeah. All right. Nate, what do you got?
Yeah, go Bucks. I can't pick Texas right now.
Thanks for the point.
Into them.
All right. Next game on here, LSU at Clemson. John, who you got?
Great battle of quarterbacks. Nussmeier's back. I picked LSU to make the playoffs, so I'm going to go the Tigers of LSU.
I actually was going to pick LSU also.
I got Clemson on this one.
Okay, Nate.
Yeah, I'm with Suits. I hate both these teams.
And then Catholics versus Convicts, Notre Dame at Miami. John.
Cheer for old Notre Dame.
I will go. I got to go Notre Dame too.
Irish.
Wake up the Echoes.
That's kind of boring. All right, you're upset 7 or more point underdog. 1 point for a cover, 2 point for an outright win. Who you got, John?
I am going to go with Ohio tonight. They are at Rutgers, getting 15.5 points. This is the start of the Brian Smith era after Tim Albin led them to the Cure Bowl championship a year ago. Give me Ohio plus 15.5.
I'm going Saturday morning, a MAC versus SEC game. And yes, I'll take the MAC. Toledo and the Rockets getting 8.5 points against Kentucky. Watch out for the upset in this one, Kevin.
Ball State is getting 17.5 against Purdue. Can Purdue score more than 17 points? I don't know. It'd be Ball State in the Hoosier State of basketball.
That's 3
playing
MAC
football.
upset picks.
That was mine. Ball State.
You keeping it? All right.
I'm sticking with
Ball
it. Ball
State.
Maction starting early.
It's all MAC all across the way. All right,
We love
last
the MAC.
but not least, Nebraska versus Cincinnati. Bishop, what is your pick for this game?
I think it's going to be a close one. Expect some big plays tonight, but Nebraska will make more of them. 27-23 Huskers.
I don't think it'll be completely comfortable, but it will end up looking like that. Nebraska 31, Cincinnati 20.
30-13 Nebraska.
38-14 Huskers.
All right, there you go. That's it for the first Friday Husker Tailgate. We'll see you on an actual Friday next week before Akron. See you then on KLIN.